Alright, hello everyone and welcome to AEW Discussion. I'm your host and AEW enthusiast, Doug. In today's episode, I'm going to be discussing Dynamite, June 28, 2023 edition. So, last Sunday was the Forbidden Door pay-per-view. I was out of town. I did catch the pay-per-view live, but I was not able to do an episode about it. But I will say this, Forbidden Door was a hit. I thoroughly enjoyed watching that pay-per-view. Granted, it would be nice if... Granted, I will admit, it was quite the marathon to watch it, man. I think I was in Central Time Zone, so it started at 6 p.m. and then it ran to like 11, so... Well, the kickoff show started, or the pre-show, I guess, started at 6, so about 5 hours of wrestling right there. Bit more than I would have liked to watch, but again, still enjoyed it all. But that's Forbidden Door. We're now moving on to Dynamite, and they're kind of in... I wouldn't say a lull right now, but the next pay-per-view, All In, isn't until August, so Dynamite's just going to kind of be, Dynamite's just going to be focusing on TV pretty much for the time being. I know Blood and Guts is their next big special coming up, and we got a huge match announced for that. And with that, we're going to get right into the action, starting with Tomohiro Ishii versus Jon Moxley. And this match was as good as expected, given the previous encounters between these two, and along the way, I wrote the latest chapter in the story of Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston, who continues to be critical of his friend for doing business with Claudio in the BCC, even though I think it's more business with Claudio than anything else. I mean, I think Moxley is one of the founding members of the BCC, so, I think it's more of just a fault for bringing Claudio in and then doing business with him. Nonetheless, that feud would continue between the backstage area, where a tense confrontation ended where they splitting them up and demanding that Kingston fix things, which was certainly an interesting take, having Kingston fix things when I think both Moxley and Kingston should be trying to work to fix things. I also kind of appreciate AEW doing a nice little interaction between Renee and Mox. I'd be very interested to see those two work more on screen to see how that dynamic would pair out. And then we got a random little trios match: Orange Cassidy, Keith Lee, and El Hijo del Vikingo versus the Jericho Appreciation Society. And Vikingo in particular continues to impress when he is on AEW TV, and the interactions that he had with Garcia, well, perhaps maybe there's a match down the line between those two, and maybe some sort of backstory to go with it. But the biggest takeaway from this match is how insignificant the Jericho Appreciation Society has become. Garcia and company would lose a match like this to a makeshift trio, and then the cameras got backstage to a promo featuring Chris Jericho, and well, Jericho doesn't even mention the fact that his guys just lost the match. Instead, he's more focused on this main event Tornado Tag Team match, which seems to kind of be the MO of Chris Jericho, that it's really more about Chris Jericho than it is the other guys. That's not a knock on Chris Jericho, that's just kind of how the group has been presented. MBS will return to prominence, but it's probably for the best to just disband this group. And you've kind of teased Sammy Guevara going, so I guess we'll see what comes of that. Just the Dark Order. So they felt like Paige kind of left them behind to rejoin the Elite. So that post-match activities as Paige's former friends, I think it's at this point, did nothing to help this Blackpool Combat Club would basically beat up the Elite and then issue a challenge for Blood and Guts on July 19th. So that match was solid. So the match was solid, the trios match, and the challenge was solidly executed, even though I think everybody kind of saw that one coming. And even though the idea of another showdown between Elite and Blackpool Combat Club doesn't really sound that intriguing because it's kind of an overdone feud at this point, hopefully Blood and Guts will spell the end of it. And honestly, when you have such a big, when you have this feud participating in such a big match, like a signature show, a special episode like this, I mean, really, Blood and Guts should be the end. There's no reason to continue it afterwards. So AEW had some momentum on its side entering this episode of Dynamite, and it did a solid job overall maintaining that. Was this a great broadcast? No, but for the most part it was a good watch. Ishii and Moxley brought the physicality while the Kingston storyline continues to play out. There was a moral dilemma between Paige and Dark Order. So yeah, I guess we'll see how that one plays out. A fun trios match and the introduction of Jack Perry's new persona. Granted, still got a little bit more work to do on the mic. It wasn't a terrible introduction, but I think ultimately, if you were to watch that segment, you can kind of see that he's still got some work to do on the microphone. Again, not terrible, but certainly not the greatest, but yeah, that's all I'll just say about that one too, is that, still got some work to do on the mic to sell this character. I don't know if exactly if Hook is the most exciting opponent for a first feud since the character change, but I think it could be a solid match overall. I think the biggest disappointment though for this broadcast was the main event, although that's really not on the competitors, more on Tony Khan for not giving these guys enough time. The show ended up going over the 9 o'clock mark, I think, so yeah, they kind of just rushed through things, and it was a mess. And then also Sting is jumping off a ladder, and well, that was a ugly landing. And also a reminder too that Tony Khan should not be signing off on that sort of thing. I don't care that it's Sting. I don't care that he's okay doing with it. Ultimately, as the boss, you kind of gotta step in and look out for your employees, which is something that Tony Khan doesn't really seem all that interested in doing, given how reckless they are on TV every single week, and how they put themselves in dangerous situations, and then it's kind of rinse repeat. So yeah, hopefully Sting is done jumping off ladders, because that. Or at the very least, if you're going to jump off a ladder on a table, make it one table. Don't try to do two. What were you thinking? Nonetheless, Jericho Sting saga, does it continue? Is it over? Probably for the best to end it, but maybe it doesn't. I guess we'll see. I think most Jericho feuds kind of have a tendency to overstay their welcome, so I think this one's probably still got some more going for it. Will Dark Order repair its friendship with Paige based on that backstage interaction? Probably not. Will Adam Cole and MJF be able to get along as tag partners in the upcoming Atlanta tournament? Probably not, but the backstage segment between the two certainly indicates that this could be a little fun story to watch. And also Ruby Soho versus Brooke Baker. That match got delayed until next week due to Baker being coming down with illness, and I do appreciate AEW for keeping it real and explaining what happened there. And so certainly cut a nice little promo on Baker, so there should be a good match to tune into next week. So overall, good show that should help set up the next. It was a good show that did a solid job setting up what is to come on television while we await All In coming in August. And with that, we'll go and wrap up this episode of AEW Discussion. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to hit that like button down below.